All right, guys, it is finally time to change the filters on my Harvey G700. First thing we got to do is clean out these fine dust collection ports. This is where everything that makes it through the filter gets collected. Then we can disconnect our hoses and pull the unit out to be worked on. Next step is to remove the dust bins and, of course, the full bags. This is when I noticed how messy this thing was, and I decided to give it a quick cleaning. And I also found that one of my gyros was clogged up pretty good, so I stuck the hose in there and cleaned that up as best I could. The next step is to remove that back panel. I think this is more just for ease of access. I don't think you have to take it off, but it makes getting those four bolts inside the unit a lot easier to reach. Once the back plate's off, there's four bolts on the top of the housing, and then there's these gray flanges. These flanges are just held in with self-tappers on the fronts and sides. And then there's four bolts on the back. Now, these things are slotted, but I found it easier just to take the bolts completely out to get them off. Now we get to these six bolts that hold this flange on. There's two bolts on the bottom that are not threaded, they're nut and bolted, and these nuts are inside the unit. You got to get up inside there with a wrench, and that was a tough one. That took me a little while to get. That whole assembly pops right off, and there's a hose clamp that holds that bottom container on. There's one nylon nut on the bottom of the filter that attaches to the cleaning knob. There's a bar that goes right through the filter that turns the flappers inside to clean the filter that nobody does as often as they should, as you can see here. That thing's nasty. While I had it apart, I figured I'd take some time and clean it up on the inside as best I could. Then this gasket that you see on the top, it doesn't have any holes in it, so I took my awl and I marked where the threads are by poking a hole right through the gasket. That helped me line them up a lot easier with these bolts that I'm putting in on the top. Again, I recommend a ball nose Allen for these because some of them are tight spots. When you're putting this container back on, you want it to be in line with the 90 on the top of the filter. So when you put it back, it shoots straight out the back of the unit. That whole assembly you can take assembled and it'll pop right back in. You could line up those holes and start putting those six bolts back. The two on the bottom, again, are going to have the nut and the bolt. It's not going to be threaded. So it was a little bit tricky. Really have to get your hands up in there at a kind of a weird angle, but nothing we can't handle. Then the end housing just pops right back on. There's four bolts that hold that in, and then the gray flanges go back on with self-tappers and the four bolts in the back. These were slotted again, but I don't know how you could have got it out without just taking that bolt all the way off. Four more bolts on the back side of the panel, and then the bins can go back in. I was lucky enough, Harvey sent me out four fresh bags to replace the original ones. These bags seem a lot nicer than the other ones. They just sit better in the bins. I don't know if they came up with a new design or not. But yeah, that was it. It took me about an hour and a half. Nothing crazy. But totally worth it. As soon as I got everything back up and running, it was a major, major difference. You don't realize how clogged those filters are until you actually get some fresh ones in there. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this helps. And maintenance on our tools is probably one of the things we all take for granted. So get out there and change your filters if you got them.